Hey team, today we're going to talk about leadership with Colonel Steve Hanson. Steve is a 1992 grad of Notre Dame. He's a finance officer. He's done multiple deployments: Sinai, Egypt, Somalia, 2 deployments to Iraq. He is headed to Fort Lewis, JBLM as we say. He's going to be the Corps comptroller, so in charge of all the money for First Corps out at Fort Lewis. And he's got a great Army family. Wife is Kelly, and 3 kids, 2 teenagers, 1 in elementary school. So Steve, you kind of have a different route that you took to get into the Army and to become a cadet. So tell us how you decided to join the Army, and then if you could go back in time and give yourself one tip as Cadet Hanson, what would you tell yourself?
Well, I certainly did have a different career track. I grew up with a family who, not exactly pro-military. We had the kind of stickers on our refrigerator that said you can't hug your kids with nuclear arms. So I had one of those different kinds of families. But I did love my country, and I wanted to serve. And of course, having a 4-year ROTC scholarship didn't hurt things. Always helps. But yeah, it was a different path. I wanted to do something different from my parents, and I wanted to just kind of go out on my own. So if I could go back to my cadet days, I would just tell myself to be true to who you are, and to don't fake things. Do things that will satisfy you, that will make you professionally fulfilled, rather than worrying, say, about what your parents or siblings or other folks might want you to do. Because if you try to start doing things that others want you to do that you really don't, you're not going to be true to yourself, and you're not going to enjoy what you're doing, and your subordinates and people with whom you work, that'll show.
Yeah, they'll see it, and being genuine is tough, especially when you're young.
Yes, it is.
And figuring that out, who you are. But if the earlier you can do that, the better. So, Steve, when you look at your junior leaders, you get somebody new lieutenant or captain that kind of comes into your organization. What are your expectations of junior leaders?
I want that young junior leader, again, like I did. I want him to be him or herself. Do your thing. Listen to other folks before you talk. Learn your trade, learn your craft, be humble, do those things that you would expect others, maybe your squad leaders or your other folks, to do. Because people will see through you if you're not like that. If you're one who comes out and talks first and listens second, you'll be exposed. So go to a new unit, learn your craft, listen to the folks that are there, and then and only then start kind of developing your own leadership and start making changes or doing the things you need to do to try to make that unit better.
My dad had a good hand and arm signal for that. He'd say, Eric, he would do this, and then he would do that. So 2 years.
Listen first, talk second.
Exactly. So good advice there. Steve, you've worked for a lot of great leaders through your career. What are some of the things you learned or took away from the leaders that you work for?
In my last job in the Pentagon, I worked for a very senior leader. He's retired as a colonel in the Army, and then he became a civilian senior executive operating at the 2- and 3-star level. He was the most technically and tactically proficient person, yet at the same time he would walk in and he would always ask you your thoughts, your opinions, his leadership, his humility, his ability to listen, and then to act upon and to draw the strengths out of the person who was working for him. He was an expert at that, and I always said to myself, he is the yardstick that to which I want to be measured.
That's great, and that's the first person that's talked about a senior civilian.
Yep.
So it's great to hear we've got some great senior civilian leaders out there in the Army and in the Pentagon.
We certainly do.
So Steve, if we got all the people that work for you together and we said, what does Colonel Hanson what's his thing? What does he always say? What's his #1 leadership tip? What would that be?
I would say, to start off, you have to have that strong work ethic. You have to know that you don't know everything. You need to put in the time and the effort to learn your craft. And then you always listen first and talk second. Listen to what others say. People will see right through you if you are not a good listener. The most important skill as a leader, as I see it, is to be a good listener. So be humble, come in with a strong work ethic, listen first, and then always take that in terms of deciding what you're going to do and apply that to your leadership mode, however that is for you.
That's great. Now specifically, finance is a very small branch. It's kind of a niche branch. Yes. So What advice would you give specifically to your finance lieutenants?
Well, specifically to a finance lieutenant, I think it's very, very important to balance the technical versus tactical. You're working in a military world where you are the very small minority. You need to be able to speak on the general tactical traits to the infantry, the armor, the kind of the center of mass Army leader. But at the same time, you have to know your niche, and the way you'll make your money is your technical expertise, in financial management and personnel management. So you have to balance both of those. I've seen many finance leaders who come in and learn their technical traits, but they don't know how to speak, in the general Army world. So you really have to find a good balance as a finance lieutenant. You have to look and marry up your technical skills and your tactical skills so that you can walk the walk with the infantryman, but at the same time you can provide your value added as a financial management expert.
All right, all you finance lieutenants out there, you heard it from the man, the I-Corps comptroller. Steve, thanks for your leadership through the last 25 years, and good luck out at JBLM, and thanks for being on Lopez on Leadership.
Thank you very much.